Welcome to the series on Salesforce flows. Today, we will look into few more scenarios on after record trigger flows. Let's see the scenario number one. In this scenario, we'll be creating a related records for a particular object. So in this, what we are doing is, whenever a new opportunity is created, automatically generate a related task to follow up with the client. So what we are doing is, whenever a new opportunity record is created, we are also creating a related task and attached to that particular opportunity. So here we'll be doing after record trigger flows, because once the opportunity is created, then only we need to create a task. So what are the steps that we need to do? First thing is trigger the flow after the creation of an opportunity. As we discussed, whenever an opportunity is created, then we need to trigger this action. Then use the opportunity details to populate the task fields. So we'll be taking few details about the opportunity and we'll be populating into the task. Then save the task. So let's see how we are going to do this using flows. So in the flow builder, you just have to click on new flow. So I have already created a flow. So what we have to do is, the first step is, it is an after record trigger flow. So let's click on see. So first select the object, and then this should be triggered only when a record is created, but not on whenever a record is created or updated. It's only for the record is created scenario. And then we don't have any criteria, entry criteria. So whenever a new opportunity is created, it should start this flow. It should call this flow. So we are not putting any entry criteria for this, but we are using action and related records. Why we are using? Because we are going to create a task and associate the task to this opportunity. So it's a related record for this particular opportunity record. That's the reason we have selected action and related records. So that's the start information. Now, once that is being done, now as we know, we need to create a related record called task. So from here, you need to search with create and select the create record option. So which I have already selected. And what I'm doing here is I'm giving a label for is create task for follow and how to set record fields. So I'm setting manually. We can also set, there'll be other option from the record variable, but since we need to populate few fields from the opportunity, I am manually assigning those fields. And what is the object that I'm using? I'm using task. And if you see, I've for the description, I've used task description. Task description is a resource variable. And if you see here, what it has, so it has a string concatenated with the record name. So what is this record name? So this task is for the opportunity name. So dollar, as we saw in the earlier sessions, dollar record will give you the current record that is being triggered. So it's an opportunity record, and I'm taking the name of that. I'm using this as a formula. So this resource field is being created as a formula. So to show how the formulas should be created, click on new resource. And instead of variable, we have to use formulas. So then you can use the formula field in the flow. That's the step one. Next, assign to ID. I'm who is the owner of the task? It will be the opportunity owner. So I'm using the opportunity details. Next, status. Status I'm just giving as in progress. Next, subject. Subject is nothing but the trigger opportunity name is the subject and related to. So every task will be having the related to details. So that is nothing but here the opportunity ID. So that is what I'm going to do here. I'm not assigning this or checking for any matching records for the duplicate records if exist or not, because I don't need this, because this flow will be triggered for every opportunity record only once, right? Okay. Now let's see in action how it looks. So I'm going to the service console. I'm opening opportunities, creating a new opportunity. I'm giving some random amount, 20,000. Close date is 31st. Uh, business opportunity. That is the name of the opportunity. State, it has just started. I'm just associating this with a particular account. And also Express Logistics. and I'm giving this is the new opportunity for the business. Just creating save. So once I created, if you see in the details, we have these details. And also in the activity, if you go and see, we already see one opportunity that got created. Nothing but, sorry, the one task got created. This is a task. Business opportunity is a task. If you see, all the details are being updated. We can also update few more details like due date, priority if you want. The comment, if you see, this task is for the opportunity called business opportunity. So this is the way we can use after record trigger flows for creating a related records associated with the triggering record. So this is scenario one. Let's go to scenario two. In this scenario, so I just want to send a bell notification or an email notification. Anything is fine, but this is related to a notification, sending a notification on a particular record. So what we are doing is, whenever a case is updated to high priority status, send a notification to the agent or the case owner. So it can be case owner or it can be a queue or a group, anything. But here in my scenario, I'll be sending to a existing owner. When this can happen is, suppose whenever I'm working on a case and this case got a milestone associated with and it has breached the milestone or violated the milestone. I'm setting whenever the milestone is being breached, I want to set the case status automatically to the high. Then automatically I need to send a notification to the agents who is the owner of the case saying like this case has breached the milestone or violated the milestone, so please check on it because now it has become the high priority case for you. Maybe that is one scenario. Or one more scenario, maybe a customer has sent 10 times a email back to you and you're not responding. Maybe we have put a check like if customer is sending a frequent replies to the same case, then you want to set the priority to high automatically. So in that scenario, we are intimating the agent saying like there's a high priority place that you need to work on. No steps. Same. Trigger the flow after the case is getting updated because we are not creating a high priority cases. And I just don't want to create a high priority case whenever a case got created. Always in my system, all the cases are in a medium status, priority status, but it goes to high priority based on certain condition. So always this I need to update. I need to update this priority status only on a update. So the triggering scenario is only on update, not on create. Then check if the priority field is updated to high. So if this scenario is something like I'm going to only check if the priority status has been changed from low to high or medium to high, but it's already high and you're updating some other field on the case, then it should not trigger again and again. So I need to even check that case also. Use custom notification logic to notify relevant users. Okay, now let's see. For this, first thing is I've created a custom notification because if you want this bell icon to give you the notification, then what you need to do is first step is to create a custom notification of record. So I've just created a high priority notification is the name of the no custom notification information. So it's very simple. Just click on create new and just give the name. That's all. Then you want to use this API name. Instead of hard coding in the flow, what we can do is we can go and create a custom label and use that label here. So I've just created a high priority case label and I'm using this label inside my flow. Instead of hard coding the high priority notification as the string hard coded string in the flow, I'm just using the custom label. So in this scenario, I'll be showing you how to create a custom notification we have saw and how to use a custom labels inside the flow. Let's go and see the flow. So this is the flow and it should be triggered only on update. So a record is updated only in that scenario. So I'm just using this scenario. And we have any entry conditions? Yes. When a priority equals high, only when a record is updated to meet conditions. So whenever the priority equals to high and only when it is changed. So it's not always like every time. It's not every time a record is updated, even though this priority value is not changed, we are not going to fire. We are going to fire only when the priority values got changed. And I'm using action and related because I'm not updating any case records here. I want to send a notification when this priority got changed. So I'm using action and related records. Now that's the entry conditions we have. Then we are checking something called record type check. So this is a one more check I'm doing. I just want to use this logic only for a particular case record types. I'm not worried for all the case record types. Think like I have two or three record types in my system, and this particular situation or scenario is only for a particular one record type. Then you also need to check the record type. So to check the record type, how we will be doing is we have something called record type object. So we'll be using that. So if you see here, I've come from the dollar record. So how it looks is in this way. Dollar record is the current record, and I'm just checking the record type of that particular record. So I'm going to this record type object, then I'm getting the developer name. So this way I'm going to check. And now I'm using here label. So for using the labels, we need to use dollar label. So we can use dollar label. So I've also created one more label for record type called individual case. In my case object, I have something called individual case record type. So I just want to trigger only when a case is an individual case record type. So I'm using label. So just have to refer like this and use the individual. So this way you're not hard coding the values. So that is what I'm doing here. So first I'm checking the record type. If the record type is not matching, the flow will not execute further. So why I'm showing this record type is because in major scenarios, you'll be writing different kinds of logic based on the record type. So record type check is a mandatory step or a best practice to do even before you write the case logic. Next, get the notification. Now we have created the notification here. So you need to get the notification ID. So you're going to get the notification ID using the get record. So get record is nothing but SOQL kind of a scenario in flows. If you want to use SOQL, you have to use uh, element. Okay, I'm using developer name. As I said, I've used the label here, high priority notification. So that is a label. So I'm going to get the record and I'm storing that record in only one first record and I'm automatically storing all the values. Now, what I'm doing is I'm also doing something else. But before that, let's see. We have something called how to send in bell notification. To do that, we have different kinds of actions. As we know, like in my previous sessions, I've showed you what are the different elements we have in flows. One of such element which is under interaction is about the action. So there are various things that we can use with the actions. One thing is there are these kinds of different actions we can use. One thing is we can use something called notification. So send custom notification is one. So you want to send email. So we have something called email alert related notification. If we want to use Apex classes, then the Apex class which we create and make it as invocable, then that Apex class will be visible here. If you want to use anything related to any other actions, all these are part of Salesforce actions in flows. So there are so many actions that we can use. So for now, we are using something called, yes, I'm deleting, called custom notification. So what are the different details that we need to fill when we are sending a notification is, first thing is notification type ID, which we will be getting it from the get notification. Next, the notification body. Notification is body is what you want to inform. So for this, I'm using a formula again. In the formula, I'm telling you have received a alert from a case number, which has a high as priority. That is what I'm going to put that. So notification body is the next, some title you need to, this also you can hard code or you can put it as a formula and just use that as a reference here. Then the recipient ID to whom you want to send. This is a list. So we need to create a list of IDs and store here. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a variable called in the new resource. If you want to store a variable as a list variable, what you need to do is click on variable and give the name. And here there is an option called allow multiple values. So if you use this, that particular string or any variable will be accepting list of values. So to create any list variable, then we need to check this checkbox. So that is what I've created here, user list. And you see this checkbox checked. Now I'll be adding the user IDs to this list. For now, I'm just adding only the user ID as the owner. So what I'm doing is I'm adding the triggering owner ID. And if you see here, I'm using add operator instead of equals operator because in the list we'll be adding, like in the array list which we have in a list data type that we have in Apex, we'll be just using dot add to add any value to that particular list. So same way we have to use add to add the owner ID to this user list. That is what we are doing here. Then I'm using that user list here. And lastly, on which object record you want to show this bell icon. So for that, you need to use this target ID. Target ID will tell you the record ID for the target of notification. Okay. That is what we are going to do. Now let's see this in action. So this is the case record type, which is the individual record type, case record type. Now, if you see the priority is medium, and when I change this priority to high and save it, I got the notification. So high priority case alert. But think like I'm changing any other status. I should not get one more time the notification because we have used the only when the change is part of the priority, then only we are doing this. So that's the radio button that we have selected. So any number of times you change this, whenever a case getting updated, you're not again calling that flow. So in this way, we are making sure that our flow is not called each and every time and wasting the resources of the CPU or memory or SOQL queries or anything. We are not wasting that. So we are making sure that always it is only called when this particular field is being updated from low or medium to high. So this is the scenario 2. Let's go and see the scenario 3. So scenario 3, I will give you in the end, but let's go and see the scenario 4. Log data changes. So log data changes is nothing but you want to log few data changes that are occurring. We can also use the audit trail, but this is one more way where you want to store that information in a particular custom object. Then what you will do is you'll create a particular object, custom object called log data object, some object name called log. Then what you'll do, create a custom record in a change log object whenever an account rating is changed. So what we are doing here is whenever there is a change in the account rating from medium to high, high to medium, something like that, when we are doing, we are putting that information into the log data type, log object as a record. So this is just to have some logging mechanism that we were doing, and this is one of the use case that we can use as a part of the flows after trigger flows. So in this, what is the triggering point? Whenever the account is updated with the rating as so and so, then we are doing this. Compare the old and new values. So we don't want to uh, put an entry into log object always, right? We want to only check when the new value and old value are different. Only in that scenario, only for the rating, then only we want to do this. Lastly, create a new record in the change log object with the old and new values. So let's go and see this. So for this, we are going with the accounts. So in the flow, I've created one object called log. So in that, these records will be updated. So here, there are two ways that we can do. I'm doing the second way. I'm not doing the first way. So the first way is whenever a record is updated, we can use something like conditions met, and we can use something called rating field and put it as is changed true. Then automatically our logic will be more simple. Like in the entry condition only, we are checking whether the old value got changed to the new value in the rating field. But to show other way of doing is I'm ignoring this condition. What I'm doing is I'm not putting any entry condition for the account. I'm just using record is updated. Then I'm doing the check here. So how can we do the previous value and new value? For that, I'm using this logic to show how to check the previous data and the new data. So to do that, what we are doing is I'm just adding here again. So we have something called dollar record, right? So we have two data. One is trigger.old and trigger.new in triggers. Similarly, in flows, we have something called triggering record and prior value. So in one option, we'll be putting this and adding rating field, account rating, does not equals, I'm using dollar prior record. So I'm just checking the old value and the new value. So this way, we are doing the check of prior old value and the new value. So this is one way to do, and the other way is in the start method, we can just check it has changed or not. So once that is done, I'm just creating a new record. I'm using the new record, manually select the object, and then object name is log. And I'm just adding few fields like field name is account rating, new value is account rating, that is the value. Object name is account, old value. So this also we can make dynamically, but here I'm just hard coding the account rating as a field name and the object name as account. But if you want to use the same log object for all the objects in your system, then we can make sure that we put proper dynamic values whenever we are inserting an entry into this particular object. Now let's see this in action. Let's go to the accounts. I'll use this. So the rating is cold. Now let's change this to warm and save. Now let's search for that object called log and all. Now you see account from cold to warm just got created. Okay, this is the way we can use to log any information using flows. So what is the fifth scenario? Fifth scenario is assign ownership. So whenever a new lead is created and meets specific criteria, then assign it to a specialized sales queue. Okay. Normally this we can also use assignment rules, but I just want to show how to do an assign ownership to a queue based on the flow. So for that reason, I'm using this particular scenario. In this scenario, or if it is not case and lead, if it is any other object and you want to change the ownership using flows, how we are going to do, that is what we are going to check. So step one is trigger the flow after a lead is created. Because it's on lead creation, I just want to check if a particular criteria is meeting. Then I want to use the owner as not the current owner, but some other specialized ownership I need to give to that particular record. Check if the lead meets the criteria. Update the owner field with the correct user. I just want to update to a different user. So for this, what we have did is I've created a queue, special care. So that is a queue name. And supported objects are lead and case. We can add any some other objects also, but for now I'm just using this. And if you see the flow, just closing all these flows, assign lead ownership. So what I'm doing on lead is created. So there's no entry condition, anything. I'm just using action and related records because I'm changing the owner, right? So I just can do only once a lead it has certain value. Okay, I'm just have to do that on the existing record once I have the owner details. So before that, what I'm doing, I'm checking whether the industry is technology. So when a new record is created and its industry is equal to technology, then first I need to get the queue details. So to get the queue details in the flow, we use get queue, and the object that to get the query for the queue is a group and the type is queue. This is standard. Like the group is the object for queue also. So that's the thing. And developer name, again, I've used the label to have the developer name of the queue in a label so that I can refer it. And it's not hard coded. So once I get the details and I'm just checking, I'm making sure that they get queue details is not empty. If it's not empty, what I'm doing, update the ownership, use the lead record that triggers this. So what we are doing in this scenario is I'm updating on the same record, the existing record only. I'm just updating it with the new owner. That's all. That is what I'm doing here. So this way we can use queue and use the queue details and assign that queue to a particular record as the owner. So to test this, let's go to Sales console in this lead. This is the lead. Okay, I'll create a new leads. ABC Limited. Okay. And rating is hot. So what was the condition? Industry is technology, not ratings. So industry is technology and save. So once I save, we need to check whether the owner got updated or not. Owner details, and check the owner details from show all data. See, owner ID got updated to this. So it got updated. Lead owner, yes. It's special care. It got updated. So this is the scenario. Now let's go to scenario number 3. So scenario T is update parent record. So when all child cases related to an account are marked as complete, update the account status to closed. Steps. Trigger the flow on after case is updated. So whenever a new case, the associated, there are think like there are 3 cases for a particular account and I'm updating a case record. Whenever the case record gets updated, I'm going to trigger this. Any case. Query for the related cases for the same parent. So I need to query all the cases which are part of that account. And then if all cases are completed, update the account status. This is what we are going to do. Now let's see the flow. So first step is record is updated in the entry condition. And every time the record is updated and meets the condition and status equals closed. So whenever the status is equals to closed, I'm going to check this and I'm updating the related records. Now first get all cases associated to the account. Since I'm doing the case update, I have the case current record case. So it is been associated with an account, right? So I can use that account ID and get all the cases related to that account and put it in all accounts. Look, I'm putting it like it will be a list. So I'll be using object and I'm using account ID as a filter, account ID for the existing current case. So based on this account ID value, any cases that are there, I'll be fetching all the cases. Once I using the loop. So this is a interaction element that I'm using. So in the loop, if you edit and see, you need to select the collection variable. Now the collection variable is nothing but this get all cases associated. So you get that as the total record here. So you can add that record. And I'm looping from first to last or last to first. It's our wish if you want to go with first to last or last to first. So for each record, what I'm checking is check status is closed or not. For each case, I'm just checking case status is closed or not. If status is closed, I'm not doing anything. If status is not closed, what I'm doing is I'm using one assignment status called check status equals to true. Like I created a variable, which is a Boolean, and I'm using that, I'm assigning that value to true. If this value is true, the default value of this is false. And if this value is true, that means at least one case is not closed. So then I cannot close the parent account. That is what my logic. So once the loop is completed, now I'm checking check status closed. If status equals false, then that means all cases are closed. Then I'm updating the case status. Update the case record related to the case that triggered with the value all cases closed. So I created one field on the case account called all cases closed, and I'm making it as true. If this is false, that means sorry, check status is true. That means there is at least one case which is still not closed. Then I'm not doing anything on that. So to test check this, let's go to account and let's see all accounts, edge communication. Let's see we have any cases associated with this. Yes, there are so many. So what I'll do, oh, all are closed. I'm just opening this. Okay. Now what I'm doing is I'm just, this one is new. So now if you see, there's a field here which I added, all cases closed. This is not checked. Now I'll go and update this particular case because all other two cases are already closed. I'm making this as closed and save. So then automatically this checkbox should be checked. See, this is what I'm doing. So these are the scenarios that we have now. Yeah. So in the next steps, in the next session, we will be now going and looking into record trigger flows running asynchronously, like in a two different transactions, like a normal DML transaction and a flow transaction will be separately. If you want to write any logic in that way, then we'll be going with asynchronous way of doing these flows. Then we'll also check on scheduled path related trigger flows. Like as we checked earlier, we had time triggered flows, sorry, workflows. Similarly, if we want to use the same logic in the flow, then we can go with scheduled path related triggered flows. That is what we are going to see in the next session. So for now, yeah, thank you.